Hey everyone, welcome back to the Stoner Car Care YouTube channel. Today we're going to be talking about the differences between a certified detailer and a weekend warrior. So as usual, we're going to start with the dirtiest part of the car so we don't contaminate the paint or anything like that, starting with the wheels. Just got our wheel brush here, get those barrels nice and clean. How are we doing over there, Sky?
Good.
Hey, oh, maybe. Let's focus on just cleaning the wheel first before we touch the paint. You don't want to cross-contaminate the wheels.
I can't just do both at the same time?
I wouldn't do them at the same time. You could, but you'll probably end up scratching the paint.
Oh, okay. All right, so how to do, Rich?
Well, no lack of effort here, that's for sure. But, so, when you went with the wash mitt and you sprayed this whole thing down with your foam gun, just wiped it down with the wash mitt, there's a little bit more detail required to kind of get this thing fully cleaned. So, I mean, it would help if you had wheelbarrow brush like that where you can kind of get in and get into all these things, because trying to get in there with that Chanel mitt, you're just going to be struggling trying to clean any of those inner barrels. You notice that we cleaned the wheel wells in the front, so that one you can also use a wheelbarrow brush, which it doesn't look like the wheel wells were really touched on this one. Having some access to some smaller locations with a brush would certainly make your job easier.
Yeah.
So you're kind of up against a wall with just using a wash mitt and the foam gun here, but is it cleaner? It's cleaner. Might not be a full detail by any means, but it is cleaner than what you started, so I think that's an improvement. But you notice where you went over the paint right away, hopefully that's not scratched. And the soap is already starting to dry. So it's nothing wrong with putting some soap on the car early to kind of pre-soak it, get that dirt to start to emulsify. But as you see now, we're gonna have to go back over it again just to clean that the proper way. So let's jump into that.
Is it okay to use car soap or should I use a dedicated wheel cleaner?
I mean, you can get by with some car soap, but a dedicated wheel cleaner is definitely gonna make your life easier. It's gonna have all the necessary ingredients in there to break down the brake dust, the dirt, the soils that are mostly seen on the tires and the wheels. But I mean, car soap is gonna get it cleaner. It's just how much easier is it gonna be to use a dedicated wheel cleaner. All right, Skylar's applying the car wash soap with a foam gun over there in his garden hose, which is fine. They put soap on there just fine. Typically a professional would do a couple other layers of decontamination here. Start with maybe a pre-soak here, and maybe a couple different high pH, low pH soaps that are gonna break down road soils and just prepare the vehicle a little bit better before you end up doing a contact wash. So I'm gonna use a foam cannon here that's on a pressure washer. I mean, honestly, the foam gun's doing just a good job, but I mean, if you're a professional, you probably have a pressure washer. This is typically a little bit easier to use, using a little less water, a little less product, and it usually has a little bit better cling to it as well. So it gives the product more time to dwell on the surface and break down those particles that you're trying to clean off. Because we didn't do any high pH, low pH pre-soaks and rinses on this, it has a good layer of that contaminant still on the surface with the car now breaking down with the soap. So we're gonna do a 2-bucket wash method. Now we're gonna have our wash mitts, then it's gonna have a rinse bucket here, and then another one to apply the soap. So first dip in the soap, gonna go wipe down the car from top to bottom. And every time you do a new panel surface, or maybe do like a door or two, a fender, and then you're gonna wanna bring that back to the rinse bucket, rinse it, reapply the soap. So it's gonna remove all the dirt that we just picked up, reapply soap onto there so we have all the lubrication we need. And again, we're gonna start at the top, work our way down. When you're touching the paint, you really wanna do straight lines. So we're going like this. The reason for that is if, let's say you did have any kind of contaminant that was still on the surface, if you're rubbing it in all kinds of circles, it'll just make those scratches in that circle mark. Whereas if you were going in straight, if there is a scratch, it's a lot harder to see that because the light is going to travel in that scratch along with the car and the body panels, making it a lot harder to see. So it's just kind of something to cover your butt, but it's a good practice. All right, as you can tell after you've done this a few times, it's kind of hard to tell which one's your wash bucket, which one's your rinse bucket. So quick pro tip, we'll typically label our wash bucket, like the one that applies the soap, with this black ring, and the rinse bucket has no ring on it. You also remember like right rinse, and then we have the labels on the front, so the right one's the rinse bucket, wash bucket's on this way. Whatever way you want to do it, remember which one has the soap and which one is the rinse, because as you can see, after a few times in the bucket, they kind of look the same. So And Sky, one other thing to keep in mind when you have a watch or something on, like that's just adding another risk that's kind of unnecessary when washing your car. Probably better off removing that so you don't take any chances of scratching it. Same with rings, belt buckles are a big one. So if you have a belt buckle that's metal, pull your shirt out, put it over top of it. That way it's not scraping up against the car when you're trying to wipe it. A lot of detailers will have like a leather belt that kind of covers over that spot just to prevent those kind of things. But another thing to keep in mind, just remove watches, rings, anything metal that could be scratching the car as you're washing it. All right, so now we're gonna get this thing rinsed off. Skylar's using a regular garden hose, which will rinse it just fine. A lot of times you'll see a professional has a pressure washer for two reasons. One, it reduces the amount of water you're using, and two, the pressure, and these are set about 1,000 PSI. So that little bit of extra pressure is gonna help take off any kind of dirt or soils that you might have missed with your contact wash, especially in like wheel wells and things like that, or in the wheels. That extra pressure is just gonna help rinse it while also using less water, so it lowers the water bill.
All right, so I know what the next step is. I'm gonna dry the car. I usually grab something out of the house, usually like a bath towel.
There's no doubt about it, you are drying the car with that. But you're just increasing the risk of scratching the car even more. If you can, a professional will use a leaf blower first, get the majority of the water off the vehicle, and then you can just kind of come by, touch it up. Typically we have a towel designated for car detailing. This one's fine, but at the edges is a little bit rougher. We have ones that are covered in felt so they don't take any chances scratching a vehicle. They have a longer twist loop that's gonna be a little bit more absorbent. So let me dry this off quick with a blower and I can show you with a premium drying towel. All right, small detail to some, but you can tell in this towel has been designed for car detailing and drying a car specifically. It has a taller pile in the middle here, lower in the stripes there, and has little tiny spots in each one. That's all meant to channel the water in a certain direction, so when you're pulling it, it's drying the car completely in one pull. I know it seems over-engineered and we're just talking a towel here, but it makes a big difference when you're washing multiple cars a day. I think it's an important distinction to make that this was a maintenance wash today. This is not a full detail by any means. I know the detailers on the other side of the camera here are saying that you didn't do the gas hatch, you didn't do under the hood. We're doing a maintenance wash just like a normal Joe would do at their house. So, but there are a bunch of efficiencies that a pro will come across doing hundreds of these.
Yeah, so this was the first installment of the Pro versus Joe for the exterior. If you'd like to see the interior, let us know that in the comments and make sure to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.